All right, well, I just got some fine art prints in from Bay Photo, part of my Ethereal Wilds collection. Let's open it up and see what we got. So there's a special moment when my digital pieces become actual pieces printed on paper. It's quite a difference once you see your prints on paper, and it reminds you of what it looked like in the wild when you actually took those. So these are all printed on Epson Cold Press Fine Art paper from Bay Photo and packaged, as always, just really nicely. These are just some paper prints, no frames or anything like that. And I'm just gonna cut into this and open up the paper and the plastic this way, just to get these out. And here they all are. All right. So each one of these is wrapped in its own plastic sleeve. Just super high quality paper. The colors are so deep in a watercolor paper like this. And I think having the paper protected in plastic just makes it for so much nicer. So these are all smaller prints. They're all an 8x12, as that's the aspect ratio for my camera. And you can always bring these down to an 8x10, or you can mount them in a floating glass frame, like I've done for some of my other ones, bigger ones. Everything's taped up nice. Just gonna move the tape away so it doesn't mess with my paper. And let's see what all of these are here. I kind of went overboard with my prints this time, but this is such a cool collection. I've reached a good point in my collection where I've got a nice style, and I wanted to see them all in this whole overall look of what this could be in terms of a collection of ethereal, that I'm calling Ethereal Wilds. I was starting to go through all the other photos that I had, and there's just so many as part of these prints that I wanted to just really get a lot of these prints put out, different poses, and give them names. So this is where I first started renaming these ones. So I wasn't very clever with this name. I called this one the Lookout 2, part of the Lookout series, just so that same fox pup at that same den, the Lookout 2. And I didn't name this one the Lookout 3. I got a little bit more creative, but this one is simply called Alert. And it's just that one fox pup that was sitting on top of its den and serving as a lookout for the rest of its crew, rest of its siblings. And this one being alert and finding what could be out there. It wasn't necessarily alert to me, but it was alert to something else that was not quite looking at me for this specific photo. Alert. This one is part of the Lookout series again. And this one's just a different pose, and it struck me in a different way. I call this one Scent on the Wind. And it's like she's smelling for something, not just looking, but using the rest of her senses to see what might be out there for danger for her den. Nose pointing towards somewhere, feet prominent right in front in a nice little pose. Scent on the wind. All right, can never get enough fox pups. Another one from the Lookout series in my collection. And this one is called On Watch. Just another one of the same fox that was on Lookout, the Sentinel, the Lookout 2. And this one's called On Watch. Just a fox pup that's waiting there on watch to make sure that the rest of their siblings in their den is doing okay. And this one is part of my Den Companions series inside of Ethereal Wilds. And this one, it reminds me of what these two little fox pups could be sharing as they're sitting on top of their den. So I've named this one Amber-Eyed Whispers. And I think that it's about two little fox pups telling secrets to each other about their world, about the food they just ate, what's to come of them, and what do they share in this whole little world. Just a cool experience seeing those fox pups. All right, this one is part of my Den Companions series in Ethereal Wilds. Is of the two fox pups, and called The Same Curious Glance, where it's an oxymoron because there's one glancing towards me and one glancing to the side. And I think that they're still looking at the same thing, their world. So in a bigger picture of what they're looking at, that was what struck me with this one. That's why I called it The Same Curious Glance. And another one of Den Companions. This one is, again, of the same two fox pups, just in a different gaze, looking at their world. And this one's called A Myth in Pairs. And just these two fox pups that were just staring at their world. What myths could be out there for them to experience where they're at. All right, this one, again, part of Den Companions in my Ethereal Wilds collection. A different moment between these two fox pups. And this one's called Our Shared Shadow. Almost like they're a shadow of each other, looking in the same direction, wondering what's out there in the wild. What is their life going to be like? All right, lots of fox pups. All right, another one here of the fox pups. This one is part of the curl of the woodland, like a precursor to when the fox pup would actually be going in for a nice little nap. So this one's called An Ember's Breath, and it's just the ember, the firelight of the fox pups and its parents, and yawning before it curls up and has a nice little nap. And this one is called The Final Wonder, and it's of one of the fox pups as it was curled up, part of Curl of the Woodland series. And man, I really love this paper. It brings out the color and contains the details in such a crisp way too. It just looks like a watercolor painting. So this one is part of Curl of the Woodland. It's a little bit different, but just a different name to inspire what this could be like as a fox pup is laying down and going to bed. This one is called The Forest Hush. Just reminded me of how quiet the forest could be, how an animal like this could live in my presence and our presence and just be part of this whole world that we are part of. All right, and this one, still again part of the fox pups, but this is different. This one is part of the Mystery of the Forest series, and it's a little bit different because it's the first time I saw these fox, and it's of the one fox that I saw the first time. And I call this one Little Spirit of the Woods. All right, and this is the last one of the fox pups that I have in here. And this is of the first fox that I saw, the first time I saw this whole fox den, and part of Mystery of the Forest. And this one's a little bit hidden, but I call this one A Question of Trust. And I view it as, did this fox den, this fox pup, maybe this is the same one as the lookout, did she think that I was a threat? Is she gonna hide? Is she gonna go tell the rest of her den? But she stood out and waited for me to take photos of her to remember her by, and the rest of them too, and video. And they were just an amazing time of experiencing all these little fox pups in their den. I remember just going and walking down my road and seeing this whole den, and was surprised that there was a fox right there. Mystery of the Forest was the first one, and I had gone back a few times to the den that I found and just kept on taking photos and videos of these amazing fox pups. All right, so I do take pictures other than just fox too. I just have so many of the foxes that are so amazing. But this one is of a little Yellow-Rumped Warbler, part of Vernal Gold in my Ethereal Wilds collection. And this one's called Vernal Vanguard. Let me take it out of here so you can actually see it. Just a little Yellow-Rumped Warbler that's sitting in its tree with its gold crown on its head and guarding its tree, guarding its home right by the river, up close to Yellowstone. Speaking of Vernal Gold, this is the central piece to that little series called Vernal Gold. And this one is of that same Yellow-Rumped Warbler about to take flight, just kind of getting itself out of the tree, going into its next location for finding whatever it needs to find in its life. High shutter speed, high ISO, a fun editing process, good deep colors, and just an amazing photo and great action shot, a good pose from this little birdie. Vernal Gold. So this one is called an innocent witness. And what I kind of meant with this one, what I was feeling was that this bird was coming into its place, and this is more about me. An innocent witness witnessing this Yellow-Rumped Warbler that flew into the tree and hang out there with me for a while so I could take some photos of it. Just graced me with his presence. An innocent witness. Last one in the little mini series, and I call this one the Sun-Crowned Prince. He has that crown of gold on his head, crowned by the sun. Is the prince of the trees that he's flittering around in, not the king, because vernal means young and a new beginning. This one is part of my Ghosts in the Meadow series, and I've got a few extras that were outside of Ghosts of the Meadow. This cool blue, twilight blue hour, misty, very mysterious in the forest. And this one I've named Embodiment of Dusk. Part of Ghosts in the Meadow. Those mule deer that just appeared out of nowhere when I was traveling and hiking in the woods with my dog Arvo. This is just a different view of them, still in that misty, moody, cool blue sense here. This is in color, but it looks in more definitely in monochrome. But this one is same vein as Ghosts in the Middle. I call it Twin Specters. Two mule deer watching me, wondering what am I doing? Me wondering the same with them. What are they doing? Why are they watching me? Do they think I'm a threat? Can I get their photo? And this is what it turned out to be. Twin Specters. All right, and this one, a wildlife series. This one is of a little critter, smaller, hard to capture. It's called the Curious Skitter. Again, this paper is just absolutely amazing. I really love this fine art paper. So much different than photo luster. It's definitely worth the extra investment to show the depth of the color and the separation of the subject to really focus on what the photo is about and what it could be about. Oh, Curious Skitter. A little chipmunk skittering along the forest floor. This is part of my Hidden Realms series in Ethereal Wilds, and this one is called Ephemeral Geometries. Just a branch with some water droplets that were hanging on during the misty time in the spring here in Colorado, and I just really moved me to see these water droplets and think about what kind of universe is inside of that small little water droplet. Ephemeral Geometries. All right, more landscapes, newer ones. This one with my Canon R6 Mark II, and I had just bought my 70 to 200 millimeter lens and was going out in the spring and capturing these photos. This one's called Secret Sanctuaries. Just water droplets that are hanging on to this pine bough and wondering what could be all inside of that water. What's growing? Water is the essence of life, so what could be in there? Secret Sanctuaries. All right, more of my Hidden Realm series, very similar to Ephemeral Geometry, but just a little bit different, and something else that just brought into my mind about what could be in these little water droplets hanging on branches. And I'm calling this one Fay Footfalls. Inspiration from Fay traps, fairy, the dust, the forest, the mystery of the forest, and what fairies can bring to that, I don't know. It's just something that is there for a moment and then it's not there any longer. All right, moving on, some more landscapes here. We're almost done. This one's a little bit older. It's when I first got my Canon R6 Mark II, and I only had one lens, the 24-70 f2.8L, which is a fantastic lens. So I was out capturing things in Michigan when I was out that way. This one was out in Ludington, and just the light coming off the sunset reflecting on this steel structure really struck me. And I love the way that the light is just reflecting off of this, the glint against the steel, the rivets detailed right there. And this one is called Steel and Silence. Beauty of the lake, the sunset, and the cold hardness of the steel, what we make to battle those elements. All right, I do have some other ones in here. I never had printed on fine art paper before, but I wanted to get it done. This one is an older photo from in Sedona, Fay Canyon. You walk all the way to the back and you can turn around and just see this amazing view. It's where the courthouse butte is just framed perfectly in the canyon, and happened to be there on a more of a stormy afternoon and was able to get an interesting sky with this one too. This one's called Framed in View. Just a pretty picture. All right, well, next up is one here from my little series called Brushstrokes of the Sky. And this one is specifically called Watcher in the Pines. And it's just a high contrast, gradient blue sky, misty, mysterious, and a silhouette of what I believe is a mountain bluebird in the pine boughs and the pine branches. All right, and the last one, the one that I'm excited about because it's a little bit different format, and I wanted to see how this one was going. I'm excited about all these, don't get me wrong, but I'm excited about this one specifically because it's a different format, and I liked the pose that this bird had given me. And I do consider this bird to be a king of the pond down by the bottom of my road. And I have a few of him and his partner in a different series, but this one is called King of the Cattails, and I'm including this one as Brushstrokes of the Sky, but it's also part of the pond's voice and the pond's soul, the male and the female. Same bird, but this one just struck to me as more of a brushstroke of the sky. I hadn't met his partner yet, the female blackbird, and he was just a singular one. Wrote a poem about him and just wondering what he was doing at the bottom of my road in the pond, and did he have a nest? Is he protecting his area, looking for food? So I'm very happy with this one. I was considering with the red color of the wing and the darkness of the bird of how the edit would come out with a separation of this little bird versus the rest of the background and how that was going to work. And I think it pops to the eye. The cattails come out first, the bird comes out second, kind of blended into the background, but you see that red in his wing and the yellow, and then there he is. King of the Cattails, part of my Brushstrokes of the Sky. I appreciate you sitting through me with this reveal of all these 28 just amazing photos, all part of my Ethereal Wild gallery. I have a selection of these that are on my website for you to choose from if you want to see one of these in your home or on your wall, or if you want to stage real estate, for example, or put into your resort, your Airbnb, your bed and breakfast, if you want to bring part of the wild into your home, into your place, wherever you may be. These are available on my website. If you don't see a specific one on my website, it's because it's in a different collection, but reach out to me, let me know, and I will make sure that I can get you one of these that you don't see on my website out to you wherever you want it to be. Like, follow along for more print reveals like this, and thanks again for just sitting through me and exploring my work with me. See you next time. Stay wild.